Welcome back to the 15 Sports Show with Kenny. Thank you all for joining me on my YouTube channel where we talk about the five things in the aspect of sport. This show is where we don't talk about football. We break it down, we go deep, and we make sure by the time you close the episode, we are walking away knowing something you didn't know before on this podcast show. I'm your host, Kenny Adediri, and then I'll be talking about the favorite club, talking about Chelsea Football Club. And trust me, if you are a Chelsea fans, you want to sit down for this one. Yes, if you are not a Chelsea fan, you will definitely want to sit down for this one because what is happening at the Stamford Bridge right now is one of the most fascinating stories in the world of football. Last time they lost against which club? They lost in the EPL, and then immediately Chelsea signed Xabi Alonso. So we are talking about the club that spent over £1 billion on player, and still yet they haven't got it right. No, we should be talking about a club that has brought managers after managers after managers. A club whose fans has gone from signing in the stand to shaking their heads, and now there is a name coming to Stamford Bridge, a very specific name, Xabi Alonso. So on today's 5 things sports show, we are giving you the 5 things, 5 complete details, honest breakdown, and everything you need to know about Chelsea past, their future, and then what Xabi Alonso means, and then what Xabi Alonso means for Chelsea Football Club. So let's go. The first one is Chelsea's struggle last season. How did a £1 billion club ended up in a mess? This is the foundation and this is direct. The season that sum up everything. Let's start at the very beginning of the conversations, and that means we have talked about what happened to Chelsea last season. Before you can understand where the club is going, you have to understand just how far it fell, and most importantly, why it fell. Now on paper, Chelsea are one of the biggest clubs in the world, no doubt. 5 Premier League, two Champions League trophy, a squad filled with international players, a wage bill that will make your eyes watered, and yet, last season they were inconsistent, disjointed, unconvincing at all, and finishing nowhere near where the club of size and spending should finish. So what went wrong? Let me break it down into the 4 clear problems. The problem number one is too many players. No clear identity when Todd Bowley took over Chelsea in 2022. He went on to what we can only describe as a shopping spree. We are talking about over £1 billion spent across multiple transfer windows. Players coming in from every league, every country, every positions. Wesley Fofana, Moalo Modric, Enzo Fernandez, Moses Caicedo. This list goes on and on like that. Now individually, some of these are good players like Cole Palmer, like Enzo Fernandez. Some of these are very good players, but their fundamental problem, they were not bought for a system. They were not bought around a manager philosophy, and that is why you see so many of the players are struggling under some coaches. They were brought on data, on potential, and then on market value. And when you do that, what you end up with a squad full of players who don't know how to play together. You cannot build a football team like you are building a fantasy squad. Football is not about individual talent. It is about relationship. So patterns, understanding, and Chelsea this season and last season had a squad where players were still figuring out the basic of how to play football on the pitch. The number 2 is the revolving door of managers. Now let's talk about this. Chelsea has been changing manager at least 2 managers in a season, and then how do we expect players to perform under 2 or 3 coaches in a season? Because this is equally as damaging, maybe more so, since Bowley took over. Chelsea has gone through Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter, Frank Lampard as a caretaker. They signed Mauricio Pochettino, Enzo Maresca and some of these coach that be as an interim manager. That is 5 different managers and more, 5 different systems, 5 different philosophies, 5 different ideas about how Chelsea should play. In the space of a few years, think about what does to this squad psychologically. Think about the players every manager comes in, changes his own pattern, his own formation, training, and everything, and then you expect players to adapt quickly to this system. No, you don't expect that coming from a players. So players can't develop consistency because the demand keep changing. Young players who could be flourishing under a coach are now confused under different coaches. Some senior players who should be leading are lost when you change managers that many times. Look at what Reece James said about Maresca who left, and they're bringing on this young man. And then at the end of the day, what happened? So you are losing time. They are losing momentum. So everything just come up for Chelsea this season, and then everything is not working as perfect for Chelsea. The problem 3 is recruitment disconnected from the pitch. Here is a structural issues. This is a structural issues that most people don't talk about enough. Chelsea recruitment model under Todd Bowley. Under the former owner, we have different pattern. Bringing players that can fit into the system, but under Todd Bowley, it's different. They handled a sporting directors and recruitment team. So the head coach is not the main decision maker on transfer. He received player. I could remember the time of Jose Mourinho when they wanted to sign which of this player? I think Drogba. They contacted someone and said, look, someone is here, are you coming? And then Drogba think about it, and then he came to Chelsea. But under this Todd Bowley, it doesn't work that way. There have been a very clear, very tight connection between the sporting director in buying and what the coach need on the pitch. Last season, Enzo Maresca demanded a centre back, but no, they said no, and see how it turned to. Chelsea were receiving players who didn't fit their system. Players were being loaned out or dropped because they were fighting right for the managers, even though they were bought for huge fees. The recruitment team and the coaching were pulling in different directions, and the club cannot move forward like that. They cannot function. The problem 4 is the mental and the emotional collapse, and there is a human side of this concerning the player. The mental and emotional collapse, and this is where the problem is coming from the player. The side that doesn't always get talked about is on the analytics shows. When a football club is chaos, when players don't know who are the manager will be their next manager in the next month, when fans are frustrated in the stand, when the results are not coming, it affects the player mentality. Mentally, it affects the player. So confidence drop, leaders stop leading, young player will stop expressing themselves because they are afraid of making mistake. Chelsea last season had moments where you could have these, what will happen in the next game. And then you could see the team is simply did not believe in itself. The quality was there individually, but the collective belief, the feelings of knowing exactly what you are doing is trusting the man next to you. But no, that was gone in the era of Roman Abramovich. And that is the most damaging things, all of it, because talent without belief produces nothing. Talent without belief produces nothing. So that is the honest picture of where Chelsea has been. £1 billion, 5 or 6 managers, a disconnected squad, and a fan base that deserves so much better. That is starting point. That is what we need to know in the mix of faith. And then what next for Chelsea under Xabi Alonso? We have stated what happened in the past. Now we are moving to the next step. What next for Chelsea under Xabi Alonso? A new era begins. And what does it actually look like for Chelsea under Xabi Alonso? a new direction, building optimism carefully, a new direction, but not an overnight fix all right. I've seen so many Chelsea fans happy about Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso did well to Bayer Leverkusen, invisible trophy. He did well with Real Madrid. Will he do well with Chelsea? I've seen so many things mix up between manager and coach, but I'm coming to that place. It is clean up Xabi Alonso, and it is very clear with you right now. This is not a fair tale conversations. We are not to sit here and say Alonso walked through the door and everything is fixed in 3 months. Likewise, what Chelsea need. That is not how football works. It takes a gradual process. I'm so happy that Chelsea will not be playing in European competitions, though they might still qualify currently, because I'm talking about they still have 2 or more games. But if Chelsea qualify for the Europa League, it's a minus to me because they won't have time to do what they want to do under Xabi Alonso. It's more exciting football club it has played in a couple of decades. So what does the next season actually look like? What changes? What stays? Let me break it down for you. These are the 5 things that might change under Xabi Alonso. A clear system, that very things that we change under Xabi Alonso is that Chelsea will finally have a clear, divine way of playing, not a vague idea, not a system that changes every 3 weeks. Who knows? It might change. A real identity. Alonso football is built on positional play, controlling pace, moving the ball quickly, dominating possessions in the right areas of the pitch. His team press aggressively when they lose the ball. Go and check Bayer Leverkusen. People say because Bayern Munich was not on form then, but there are some teams that were on form during the era of Xabi Alonso winning the league invisibly. So, and then he created chances through intelligent movements rather than just individual brilliancies. So, for Chelsea players, many of whom are technically excellent, this kind of system could suit the players like Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, Reece James are exactly the type of player that Xabi Alonso is looking for. Go and check Marco Kurela under Mauricio Pochettino. Those are the kind of player that Alonso will be needing with Chelsea. And then he has stated that both Enzo Fernandez and Marco Kurela will be his vocal point with Chelsea. So they are not going anywhere. And let's base on what did at Bayer Leverkusen. The answer to that question should give Chelsea fans a real confidence that they need to relax next season. But not full relaxation for Chelsea, but they can just relax a bit for for Xabi Alonso. The second thing is that strategies will change under Xabi Alonso because he's now the full manager that will have control over the transfer philosophy, not like other coaches at the last season and this season. No more buying volume, no more signing players because the data shows good or the price feel as a bargain. Alonso will want a specific profile in the transfer market. He will want a ball-playing centre-back who is comfortable under pressure. He will want a midfielder who can press and pass in the equal measures, just like Enzo Fernandez. He will want a full-back who understands how to invert and create overload. Go and check Mark Cucurella. Every signing needs to serve the system for Xabi Alonso. 3 or 4 perfect signings are worth 10 average ones, just like the bunch of players Chelsea have right now. And if Chelsea board can understand, if they can discipline themselves in the transfer market for the first time in 3 years, next season's squad building will look very different. The third things that might change under Xabi Alonso is how the club breed. I know that sounds dramatic, yes, but please hear me out. When you have a manager who knows exactly what he's doing, when the players trust the system, when the training is very clear, things will change. When a game plan makes sense, things will change. The entire atmosphere of a football club changes. Training becomes purposeful, results start to follow, and the fans start to feel it. the stand will start to feel it. I think the next Chelsea game against Tottenham Hotspur, the Chelsea have suspended their protest because they have a clear path of what might be happening next season. So Alonso didn't just change the tactics, he changed the culture. He made players believe they could compete with everyone. It's so unfortunate that Enzo Maresca will be at the MC of Manchester City next season because Pep Guardiola will be leaving. So if we made a club, Xabi Alonso, we made a club that never won the Bundesliga feel like champions before they even lifted the trophy. The psychological shift. That is the belief. It is something Chelsea haven't had for a long time, and Alonso has a proven ability to recreate it. Chelsea has been longing to have a coach that has this winning mentality. Did the things breaking down for what between the coach and manager? Chelsea has been having coaches, not manager. And what are the difference between between the other coaches and then Xabi Alonso as the manager? So let me break this down for you. Xabi Alonso, a head coach role or a full manager role? That is the question coming on from every Chelsea fan. And let me break the difference between the two. I want to go through each of these slides and give you the full analysis because this is actually the most important tactical question surrounding the entire appointment. Now, what is the first one? The full manager, it takes all the power. Any role is just need to perform. Talking about the coach, we just need to perform, just giving the player and then he will perform. Enzo Maresca was a coach, was not a manager. Graham Potter was a coach, not a manager. Who is this guy who signed for Brighton? From Strasbourg, Liam Rosinio was a coach, not a manager. It's a different ball game. A coach is assigned on pitch. Your own duty is to utilize the player we give you. Why the coach will have a say on every aspect of the football club. Manager versus head coach. The simple breakdown is this. Just like the CEO of the football club oversees strategy and the recruitment, he has a voice in whom comes in, who goes out, and how the club is built from top to bottom. Talking about manager. A head coach, on the other hand, is just a specialist. He is focused on training and winning matches. He works within a structure that someone else controls. Both roles are valid, both roles exist at a high level, but the key phrase is that the level and the control and the responsibilities that it separates them, and the level of the control of exactly what determines whether Alonso succeeds or fails at Chelsea. And who is a manager? Who is a manager? Pep at Manchester City doesn't just pick the team on Saturday. He shaped the entire footballing identity of the club over the 9 years. He told Manchester City which players fit his system and which didn't. So he had a direct input on every major transfer. The result, yes, the most dominant era in the Premier League history. Luis Enrique at the PSG operates the same way. When he arrived with PSG, he didn't just inherit a squad and make do of it. He implemented his own vision, his demand, his football, and that is what they call a full manager does. He doesn't adapt to the squad adapts to him. Manager does not adapt to the squad adapts to him. And who is a head coach? Like I listed earlier, Maresca, Rosinio are just a coach, are just the perfect example of the head coaches, and that is very telling. Maresca at Chelsea of the season, talented coach, good idea, but working under a sporting structure. Transfer were not his own decision. But here is a counter argument. Chelsea have tried their model for 3 years. They have spent £1 billion and the football has inconsistent and then identityless. So the model has tried. The model has not worked. So either you fix the model or you bring someone powerful enough to override it. So Alonso is the person, but only if you give him enough time. You will enjoy Alonso, but only if you give him the power to be that person. That is Alonso. And then what it means for Alonso is this. As Chelsea appointed Marcos Alonso as the manager, not just a coach, it means he has more authority and a control than any recent Chelsea coach. Stronger says in the transfer, squad planning, and the overall project directions. And that is precisely why this appointment has the potential to be different from any other one. Not because Alonso is magician or he has this magic, not because he has a secret formula, but because if you give him the real power, they are finally allowing one football brain to connect the dressing room to the transfer window. And that connection, the unity of vision, is what Chelsea have been missing for the past 3 seasons. And then the things for the glory can be redeemed. Things for glory be redeemed. Can Chelsea win under Alonso next season? And what does the winning even look like for Xabi Alonso? Be honest, we shouldn't overhype, but don't kill the dream either. The honest answer to this question is, this is the question every Chelsea fan is really asking. Not about tactics, not about coaching structure. The real question is, are we going back to the top? Like I said, we shouldn't be bothered to play in the Europa League or any UEFA competition. Let's focus on the EPL and Cups. Are we going to be challenging for the league title? Are we challenging for the Champions League slot next season? Is the glory coming back to Stamford Bridge? And am I going to give you the honest answer? Not the hype answer. Not the doom answer. The real answer next season. Year 1, build. Not winning, I need to take you back to Bayer Leverkusen one time. Year 1, building. Not winning, I need to take you back to Bayer Leverkusen one more time, because this is the most important comparison we can make. When Xabi Alonso arrived at Bayer Leverkusen in the mid-October 2022, they were in the bottom half of the Bundesliga. In his first full season, they finished 6th, not 1st. Second season, 6th. And the people were asking questions, is this the right man? Is he ready? But Alonso wasn't trying to win the first season. He was installing a culture. He was building a relationship with the squad. He was implementing his principle slowly and deliberately. He was laying a foundation that nobody could see yet. His second full season, he went unbeaten in the Bundesliga. History was made for Bayer Leverkusen, invisible. So Chelsea fans need to understand that they are likely looking at the same trajectory. First season, should not expect anything. He will have to build a culture. Year 1 under Alonso is going to be a building year. You will see better football, much better football. You will see the team that is finally known what he is doing. But if you are expecting a Premier League title in the May of next season, you are getting it wrong. You just need to adjust your expectation. What year 1 should look like: a top 4 finish, a clear tactical identity, a squad that starts to believe in itself, and the transfer windows that actually make sense. That is a successful year 1, and that is the foundation. What? Getting excited about it. In the year 2, let's talk about it. When it gets serious, if Chelsea do 1 year right, if they can back Alonso in the transfer market, if they can give him the time and space to build, year 2 is when the conversation about the glories become very real. By the year 2, Alonso principle will be instinctive for the player, the pressing will be automatic, the position structures will be second nature. New signings will have a full preseason in the system, and the team will have the collective belief. The momentum that only comes from going through the full circle together. Year 2 under Alonso is when Chelsea genuinely challenge for the Premier League title. Year two is when Champions League become a serious ambition rather than a hope. Year two is when Stamford Bridge will start singing again the way it used to be sing. The what glory really means right now. But I also want to reframe this question slightly because think something with divine because before I think something with divine glory too narrowly. We think glory only means lifting a trophy. Yes, trophy matters. Trophy matters a lot. But the glory of Chelsea right now also means having identity. It means playing football that the fans are proud of. Yes. It means going to the Stamford Bridge on Saturday and feeling excitement rather than anxiety.